So let's get started. So this is going to be a series of lectures on linear algebra, right? So for organizational purposes, I am dividing the content into many subunits. So we will have, lots of these small pieces, but all of them I'm going to just call them lectures. So there's lecture 1, lecture 2, so on, but there will be, each of them will be tiny lectures. So let's start with I guess it's more in the nature of recall, right? Most of us should be familiar with vectors. So let's get started. So this lecture is about vectors that we are familiar from high school. Okay, so we tend to think of vectors as objects that have a magnitude and a direction associated with them, right? So however, one has to be a little more careful. Not everything which has both a magnitude and direction is going to be a vector. So for a vector to be a vector, it has to satisfy certain properties. One key property is how two vectors add, right? So if you add two vectors, you must get another vector, and which has a very precise form, right? So we are also familiar with this. So let's just recall how we thought of addition of vectors, right? So there is one way of thinking of this is the geometric approach. You can think of a vector A and a vector B, and if you want to add these two, you place the tail of vector B at the head of vector A, and then you draw a vector from the tail of vector A to the head of vector B, right? So that's going to be A plus B, right? So there's an algebraic approach which one can come up with, which is to add the components separately, right? So I'm here for the purpose of illustration. I'm thinking of these as two-dimensional vectors. So in general, you can have whatever dimension you want. So then you have all these components associated with these vectors. You add these component, the vectors component wise. So the x component of the vector A plus B is simply ax plus bx, and the y component of A plus B is ay plus by, right? So this is another way of thinking about addition of vectors, right? So a key aspect of this operation, which we have called addition, is that it's commutative and it's also associative, right? So this is an essential aspect of what this operation called addition means, right? So the reason why we are going into these apparently very simple operations is because we want to look at vectors in a much more abstract way, which we will start doing from the next lecture onwards. But the point is that we will look at a familiar object, the vectors, and try to pull out the key properties, and then we'll just work with more abstract quantities which have these properties, right? So we're looking at vectors, and we observe that addition is commutative and also it is associative. What does commutativity mean? It simply means that it doesn't matter whether you add A to B or B to A, so the result is the same, right? We could have, in the geometric approach, we could have started with the vector B and place the tail of vector A at the head of vector B and then add it. It would still give us the same answer, right? So A plus B is the same as B plus A, and it's evidently clear also with the algebraic approach. And associativity means if you're adding three vectors A plus B plus C, now it doesn't matter where you put the brackets, right? So you could put the brackets as A plus, B plus C being added first, and then you add A to it, or you could think of it as the addition of A and B first. You put a brackets corresponding to A and B, A plus B brackets plus C. So it doesn't matter in which order you do this operation, you're going to get the same answer, right? So that's what associativity means, right? So we can look at the way we have defined addition and immediately verify that these two properties hold, right? So we are going to make this more general, but we will try and we'll preserve these properties. That's why it's important to observe these properties. So the other aspect of a vector is multiplication with a scalar. If you take a vector and multiply by a scalar, right? So for the moment, let's think of just real numbers. If you take a real number and multiply it with some vector, its direction is going to remain unchanged in this for these familiar 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional vectors, but its magnitude is going to get magnified or diminished by this factor c, right? It's all very familiar. We have thought about this in high school. And the multiplication with -1 is going to just change the direction but keep its magnitude unchanged, right? So we are going to come back to this later on. So in fact, we will say that multiplication by an arbitrary complex number is possible. A scalar could be taken from a complex field. We are going to generalize this later on, right? And vector, the notion of a vector itself is going to be generalized but subject to these properties. That's why it's important to identify these properties. Okay, so but before we go on to thinking about abstract vectors, let's very quickly point out an example where the use of vectors already gives you a lot of power, right? So from high school, geometry, there are all these theorems which we proved, and many of these had very complicated proofs. So let's just look at one example where simply the use of vectors as we have defined it so far itself can give you very elegant and instructive proofs. So one statement that we are familiar from high school is that if you take a triangle and then draw the medians of the triangle, they're all going to intersect at the same point, first of all, and they're going to intersect at a point which is 2/3 of any of these medians, right? So let me show you a diagram. So I have this triangle ABC, and we are asked to prove that if you drop these medians AP and BQ, right, they're going to intersect at some point M. For sure they're going to intersect. And so the assertion is that this AM, the length AM, is 2/3 of the length AP, and likewise the length BM is 2/3 of the length BQ. And if you had drawn the third one, which I'm not drawing here, that too would be the same, right? So CM is going to be 2/3 of the median from C to AB, to the side AB. Okay, let's prove this using vectors, and we will appreciate the power of this simple abstraction itself. So consider this triangle. Okay, so I have joined AP and I have joined BQ. So let them intersect at M, right? So all of this is by construction. We have just drawn these things and we have named them. So now let's look at this vector BQ, right? So I want to look at 2/3 of the vector BQ. So it starts at B and goes all the way up to Q. So let me see what is 2/3 of BQ. But what is BQ? BQ is, from this parallelogram law of addition, BQ is nothing but BC plus CQ, right? It's important to get the direction right. So BC plus CQ is equal to BQ. So I have 2/3 of BQ is equal to 2/3 of BC plus CQ, but which is the same as 2/3 of BC plus half of CA, right? Because Q is the midpoint between of AC, right? So 2/3 of BC plus half CA, which in turn is nothing but 2/3 BC plus, I'm just multiplying this out, so I have 2/3 BC plus 1/3 CA. So let's keep this as it is. Now let's compute the same 2/3 BQ in a different way, right? So we have BA plus 2/3 AP, right? So let's compute BM. So I'm claiming that if I go from B to A and then I come down 2/3 of this direction along AP of this length AP, then I'm going to get to the same point, right? I have to show this. So in principle it could have been some other point, but we will show that in fact it's going to be the same as the other vector BQ. So if I do BA plus 2/3 of AP, that's the same as saying it's BA plus 2/3 of AP is nothing but AB plus half BC, right? So think of it as I have this vector AP. AP is, I could come down from A to B and then from B to P, but B to P is nothing but half BC. So I write it as AB plus half BC. So I have AP is AB plus half BC. So BA plus 2/3 of AB plus half BC, right? And so then I just expand this out. I have 1/3 BC plus 1/3 BA, right? So we have to realize that the vector BA is the same as minus vector AB, right? So taking this into account, I get 1/3 BC plus 1/3 BA. But what is BA? BA is BC plus CA, right? So I can write this as 1/3 BC plus 1/3 of BC plus CA, which is, if I collect all these terms together, I get 2/3 BC plus 1/3 CA. So what I have managed to show is whether I directly go along this vector BQ, if I with a magnitude which is just 2/3 of this length BQ, I'm going to get the same vector as BA plus 2/3 of AP, right? I could equally well have done it for the third side and I'll end up at the same point, right? So first of all, it shows that all these three lines by symmetry, right? So all these three lines intersect, and they intersect at a point which is 2/3 of this each of these medians, right? So it's a clever, elegant proof. And so in fact you can use vectors in a similar manner to prove many of your high school theorems, right? So I'll probably send out a homework around this, but this was just to quickly illustrate the power of vectors with such a minimal level of abstraction, right? So we are going to make them more abstract and come up with the notion of what is called a vector space in the next lecture. Thank you.